Hey guys, Script Trooper here with another video, and with all the stuff being released for the Acolyte, I thought there was a couple funny things to talk about, as well as some of the issues and problems that I don't know how they're going to get around in terms of the storyline. Because at this point, I mean, I guess there's a way, and I'll discuss that in a couple minutes, but the first thing I want to talk about is just how funny and weird some of the marketing's been. And first, let's check this video from Star Wars that was released, I guess, like the last couple days, with like the Wookiee Jedi guy. And it's like, it speaks to this bigger issue. Like, they're drawing so much attention to the costumes, which for all intents and purposes, like, are not horrible, but they're not really good either. When I was playing, or at least watching, I didn't play the game, I just watched the storyline for Jedi Survivor because I wasn't buying a PS5 to get it. So, and the one character there that's from the High Republic, like, his costume looks like it looks golden. The artwork for the High Republic books, like it's like a golden sheen, like it's just another level. And then in this, it's just basically like looks like felt, like gold colored felt. Like it doesn't look the same that you would think it would based on what the High Republic artwork was. So it almost looks like kind of a cheaper version of that. But the other thing about it that's really weird is all of them wear, like, literally the same thing. Like, the same belts, the same felt gold thing. Like, everything's the same. Except for the Wookiee. He doesn't get to wear pants for whatever reason. So it looks like he's literally, like, wearing, like, a skirt. It's a little weird on the Wookiee. It looks pretty bad, actually. So if you notice. Like, that's corny. Like, I don't know. Like, anyways. But the other thing is like, it's very uniformed. Some people will say, like, the prequels was uniformed as well. And it was, but not to that extent. Like, everybody didn't have the exact same belt. Everybody didn't have the exact same setup. Everyone didn't have the exact same colored cloak. There were some subtle differences that kind of differentiated each person. And what I don't understand is this is 100 years before, and this is one of the problems we're going to talk about today, but 100 years before the prequels, why weren't, and if they were wearing these uniforms, like if they were so uniformed, what happened that made it so by the time the prequels came around, they weren't all wearing this golden looking attire? Like that's kind of doesn't jive. It doesn't make like their outfits are sort of not as elaborate 100 years later, which I find kind of strange. Okay, so here's the other one thing I want to talk about. This is the behind-the-scenes little featurette they released. So let's just take a look at that real quick, and I'll give you my take, and then I'll move on to the bigger issue with this show that they're going to have to deal with. And I don't know how they're going to deal with it, because it's going to create a massive problem.
It's pretty incredible to play a Jedi. The Acolyte is very much an action-packed mystery in the world of Star Wars.
Last night, a Jedi was murdered.
It doesn't make sense.
Last night, a Jedi was murdered. It doesn't make sense. That's kind of telling it the way it is. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that there's Sith running around killing Jedi 100 years before the Phantom Menace at all. So, and we'll get more into that.
And the Acolyte, Leslie, takes you on an adventure that lets you inside what she loves about Star Wars.
So it's about Leslie and what she loves about Star Wars. I feel like this is one of the big problems with this IP right now, and that was a perfect quote from Dave Filoni, because that kind of encapsulates, a lot of the issues with it. Because, like, what kind of motivation do these people have to be making these shows? And it just seems like it's all selfish. It's all what I love about Star Wars, what I think is good. And they're not thinking about the fans. And this goes all the way back to JJ. I've heard a lot of rumors that JJ is potentially the person who made it so Rey was not a Solo, and then that was the original plan, which is what George wanted, which is what the fans wanted. The fans wanted a more EU-centric story. It didn't have to be exactly the same, but they wanted some of those elements, and they just didn't do that because they didn't like it. They didn't even consider the fans. Rian Johnson did what he wanted. Didn't even consider the fans. In fact, said, yeah, I wanted it to be divisive. I wanted half the fans to hate it. Otherwise, I don't think it's good. Oh, okay, because it's all about you. All of these shows, it just seems like everything's about them. So this is what Leslie Headland wanted to see in Star Wars. Leslie Headland, whose worldview is, I would estimate, probably very different than most people and a lot of Star Wars fans. And again, regardless of any of that, what they should be saying is we really wanted to make a show that would make the fans happy, but they don't ever say that. Ever. Since Disney bought this, it's all about them. This is a lot of narcissistic, selfish people. So when you're coming from that foundation, how is this show going to be good? The only way people are going to like it is if they just like what Leslie Headland likes, I guess. Really think about it. Even you guys that really love Disney Star Wars, does that really make sense to be coming at it from, I want to make what I want to make that I like, not let's make something really cool for the fans that follows George's lore and honors everything, sort of like what Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings, right? That's why it's so good, because he didn't, put himself at the forefront. He put the author at the forefront.
Our show takes place during a time period before George Lucas's prequels.
It's farther back on the timeline than we've ever done live action.
The story is fueled by all these twists and turns.
So I just had to say, I'm really impressed with the makeup job here on Ben Shapiro. They did a really good job.
We have a suspect. An old Padawan of yours.
Let me be the one to bring her in.
I was very interested in pushing in the direction of martial arts films.
Yeah, which, we've discussed this before, and I've discussed it on Twitter. If you look at what was the inspiration for Jedi, a lot of it was samurai, but it wasn't just samurai in and of itself. The focus was on a lot of these sword fighting and stuff like that. And I mean, we don't need proof of that other than just what's in the film. So you don't see Jedi having, a big karate kickoff. Yes, every so often, there's moves, there's counter moves in a sword fight. Once in a while, a guy might get punched, or there might be a kick swung at a guy. But you never just saw people like full-blown having Matrix fights. And that's all this really is. It's just a slow-down Matrix fight. They bring in Carrie-Anne Moss to sort of validate the idea to people, thinking we're dumb and we're not going to realize that, no, you're just copying a totally different fighting style that doesn't really fit with Star Wars. It never has. When somebody attacks a Jedi pulls out his lightsaber and deals with it. Going all the way back to the opening scenes of Star Wars, where the alien goes after Luke and Obi-Wan says this guy's not worth it, and the guy presses and pushes him down, and Obi-Wan says okay, and he cuts his arm off and walks away. So they're keepers of the peace, but they will defend, and if they have to stop somebody, they're not gonna, Obi-Wan wasn't gonna get into a Karate Kid match with the guy. He's just saying, dude, stop, or bad things will happen. Don't stop, and I'm gonna do this, and he does it. So this whole scene with Stenberg and Carrie-Anne Moss and doing Matrix, it's not Star Wars. If Carrie-Anne Moss got attacked by this person, immediately she'd pull out her lightsaber and she'd say, you need to stop right now. Stop attacking these people in this cantina right now. And if she didn't stop and she was threatening people's lives, then her arm gets cut off. And if she still doesn't stop, then the other arm gets cut off. Right? They were keepers of the peace, but there was always justification for what they were doing. They didn't just do it for fun. They're not just going to let this person who's already looks like killed some people continue doing what they're doing. So that's a big problem, and it doesn't fit with all the Star Wars we've seen to this point. It just changes it, and it's 100 years before. So that's another big problem.
When I heard the first person I fight was Carrie-Anne Moss, I had a heart attack.
Getting an actual saber was just
Training for the fight is pretty special.
I'm still trying to be cool about it.
Look at that. One of the scenes from one of the trailers, the one Jedi, they went so over the top with this Matrix flippity stuff. There's one part where the Jedi guy is meditating and she sneaks up on him with her daggers. And then she could have just stabbed him. Yeah, we're done. No, she, for some unknown reason, jumps and does a flip off the wall and then stabs him. first of all, you're making noise, so why would you do that? And second of all, why would you do that? You just stab him. You're standing right next to him. Like, stuff like that, like, it just, I don't know, I feel like it's just going to be so over the top, and again, it's Matrix, but not good Matrix.
I consider myself very lucky to have Amandla as May.
She's a mysterious figure on a path for revenge.
Yeah, it was that scene right there where she walks up on that guy and she, for absolutely no reason, does a flip off the wall. Like, it doesn't make sense.
You just can see how dedicated she is.
There it is. They didn't show the whole thing, but it's there. Trust me. It's in one of the other TV spots.
I'm so excited for fans to see the show.
And that brings us to the final issue here. So, just like you saw in that last little part that was in the trailer. So there's a huge problem here. So George Lucas himself has said in an interview that the Sith have not shown themselves for 1,000 years. This takes before the Phantom Menace. This takes 100 years before. He also, of course, we have the line from Darth Maul when he's talking to Sidious.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
You have been well trained, my young apprentice. They will be no match for you.
So this is established. This is an established point of lore in Star Wars, that there's 1,000 years without any Sith. So there's two ways that they can deal with this. And I think they're probably going to go with the former, which is they're going to just come out and say, well, they're not Sith. This is what they do, right? Snoke wasn't a Sith. Kylo wasn't a Sith. Snoke was trained by a Sith. Kylo was trained by him. Everything they do is thinking like a Sith. Their beliefs are Sith-like. He's wielding a Sith weapon. Snoke is using Sith force powers, but they're not Sith, just because they don't say they are, right? And I've said this before in videos, you guys know if you follow me. If you steal things, you're a thief. You don't get to be like, no, I'm not a thief. But you steal things. So what? I'm still not a thief. Like, that's not how it works, right? But this is how they roll. And I think they're going to just say, well, they're not technically Sith because they don't call themselves Sith. That's what it feels like they're going to do. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And there are people that are going to fall for that, even though that is really dumb. So the other possibility, and the one that would kind of work, maybe, but it would be extremely difficult to do, and I do not have faith in these people that they could actually pull it off, and that is that, for instance, that scene you saw at the end of the trailer with all those Jedi and the one gimp mask looking Sith guy, is that he literally dispatches all of those Jedi. And so none of them are able to return to the temple or return to any other Jedi and tell them about this guy or girl or whatever it is, gimp mask. Right? Then you could say, okay, well, they still haven't technically revealed themselves. A whole bunch of Jedi died and they didn't reveal themselves. Now, on the other side of that, then there's like 100-year gap, and what are the Jedi doing? Like, are they just, oh, well, a bunch of Jedi died that one time and that was it. So they've created a massive problem, and they've gone against the lore that we've all known and loved. Now, I'm going to just say that line by Darth Maul is going to seem really off-putting and stupid now. But they've done that with a lot of lines, right? Vader and Obi-Wan and other things as well. So they don't really care whether or not these shows create problems for the original 6 films. They don't care. They don't care. They just think their stuff is the best because, again, going back to the very beginning of this video, their motivation is self-interest. It's not fan interest. And it's been like that since day one, right? Every interview you see, it's, we're adding just diversity, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and, more females and more this. And it's like literally the Force is Female was like one of the first marketing things. And it's like, why don't you just say, we're going to make stuff the fans like? But that's not what they're interested in. They want to force you as a fan to like what they like. That's the issue, 100% in a nutshell. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. And please comment below your thoughts on all this and how they're going to pull this off, if this is even going to work. And have yourselves a really good day.